Alrighty, everybody, how are we? Good? Love and life, wherever you're from in Australia or anywhere else. Guys, very interesting weather. Been quite chilly the last few days, which is it's good in a way, but still I do prefer the summer. That's okay, we'll take that on the chin. Guys, just gonna wait for a few more people to hop on, if that's okay. Tonight, I'm really excited actually how I'm going to walk you through this presentation just quickly on how to turn your equity that you've currently got, whether it's in your home or whether it's in your investment property, into cash flow. Obviously, this is not going to work for everybody, but it's a really good scenario. The reason why I want to talk about this is, depending on where you're currently living at the moment, we've seen a huge uplift in property values. Now, everyone knows that may not stay there. They could, but it may not stay there, that peak sort of property price. So depending on where you are, what your portfolio is currently like, this may work for you, this may not work for you. But just remember, guys, I'm not giving you advice to sell. I'm just giving you a bit of general information just to get your juices flowing, to basically sort of see, could this work for you? It's definitely not going to work for everybody. But what about this scenario here? For me, it's about showing people that equity. You know, a lot of people say that cash is dead money in the bank, or definitely is at the moment. But a lot of the pensioners now are facing a bit of a crisis with their incomes that have definitely dropped off due to the interest rates just for cash deposits, just nowhere near where they should be. So this is an example where I believe in some cases, not every case, that equity is also dead money if you're not using it correctly. So what I'm going to walk you through tonight is just how I believe there's two scenarios, and I've actually seen both of these scenarios myself over the last month, and I wanted to bring it to people's attention because I wouldn't say I'm frustrated by it, but you've got to understand you could take small sacrifices and that can make a huge difference to your life. People, you know, everyone wants to retire early. Everyone wants to retire on $1 million a year, but no one's willing to sacrifice their hours, sacrifice family time, sacrifice cash flow to do it. And unfortunately, it's the Australian way, but not everyone's like it. I'm not like it. I sacrifice to get myself ahead financially, and a lot of other people do as well. But this is a couple of different scenarios I also want to run past you guys. So let's get started on tonight's presentation. Just a quick one. Okay, so, all right. Bear with me, guys. Got to figure out how to start everything. Okay, all right, sharing my screen. Yeah, turning equity into cash flow. Now, guys, I want you to remember this example. I will come back to this example a few times, but when I'm talking about a cash flow property, I'm talking about a dual income property or something similar to that. It might not be brand new, it could be older. It's just about a high income property that's going to work from turning your equity you've got into cash flow. And in this scenario, I've just done an approximate purchase price of, the property I'm working off is a dual key property, so it's definitely dual income. A purchase price of $650,000. I'm putting in a 20% deposit, which is $130,000. And on top of that, I have allowed 20 grand for costings as well, but I haven't got that written down here. And this will leave you with a loan amount of approximately $520,000. So if you had a loan at the current rate with $520,000, your repayments are going to be about $15,500, and your expenses are land rates, council rates, depends on your state and council. That'll also sort of depend whether you have water rates or not, insurances, everything involved with running the property. So if you had a much older property, you'd probably have to chuck in some cash there for maintenance as well. So what this total cost is about 20 grand. So it's going to cost you around 20 grand to run this property. Now, with this property in the current market, if you're buying a property for say $650, you should be getting around $800 a week. That is in relation to Hey Scott, how are you, mate? That is in relation to. Feel free to say hi, everyone. I like it when people say hi. I don't feel like I'm by myself on here. With the rental income, sorry, you should be getting $800 a week rent minimum for a 650 price. So this is going to give us positive cash flow of around $21,500. Okay, so that's not bad. That's pretty good going. If it's a brand new property, you have depreciation benefits to offset tax on that, but I'm not going to go into detail on that today. All right. So what we've got now is this is what I'm going to call. So I'm just calling it an owner occupied scenario. So there's a nice lavish house here. They live. It depends where you are, but what we're seeing, and everyone's seeing it, that a lot of people are flinging capital cities or busy central locations into more, I wouldn't say regional or remote, but further afield, because what they're finding is they can get better value for their dollar as far as a home goes, a better lifestyle because they can work from home. Most people can work from home now, depending on your job, of course. If you're a carpenter, obviously you can't. But there's a lot more flexibility with employers with working from home. They've realized they can save on rent and office space, blah, blah, blah. So I brought this up to show you guys today because I had one client, this is their exact scenario. And what it is they had a home worth $200,000 on the outskirts of Sydney. Their current loan was $300,000 and they actually were stressed about their mortgage. So when I looked at their scenario, I'm like, we need to look at your entire scenario. And I suggested to these guys to potentially, their kids had left home. They're all in this huge house all by themselves. To sell their property and downsize and use that equity they've got, because these guys did have to move quick. They didn't have much in super, didn't have an investment property, and they were over the age of 50. So they had to be quite assertive to try and to really make do with how much time they got left towards retirement, or just realistically make do and get the best financial outcome for them for the rest of their life at the end of the day. So home value, 200,000. The current loan was 300. And if they sold the property, equity afterwards is about 1.7 million. Now, what I worked out with these guys, if they move further afield, if they could buy a home for about $1 million, they would be content with. It was still a relatively large home, but it was at least 50 kilometers away. Now, it didn't bother them for work, didn't bother them from that perspective. They never even thought about putting this in place. So what these guys are in the middle of doing is going over their finances. I'm pretty sure they've sold their house now. Because in this market, if you really want to make a move and on a way of downsizing or take the most capital you can, this market we're seeing right now, especially in New South Wales, is exactly what you should be doing. Future home purchase, $1 million. So what it does, this leaves them surplus money of $700,000. The benefit with this is that if you do this with your own home, obviously it wasn't an investment property, so you're not going to pay $1 in capital gains tax. What everyone will notice here, I haven't taken it into consideration stamp duty. I haven't taken it into consideration of real estate commissions, because everything I'm doing here tonight is just on round figures, just more general information. So with that $700,000, what we're able to do is, if you remember, this was the scenario, approximate cash flow of just over 20 grand for a purchase price of 650. So with this owner occupied scenario, when we restructure this into more cash flow producing, what it is, we're taking that 700 grand, and that is when I allow $150,000 for a deposit per property, it gives me about 4.6 available properties we could potentially purchase. Now, 150K, the reason why I say 150, there's 130 deposit and $20,000 for anything else that you might have to outlay, like stamp duty, etc. So what you've got for every $150,000, this is what they can do. And they actually, in this scenario, we're only spending 600, they'll have 100,000 left over as well. So what we've been able to do with this one is basically, it's quite simple. We've turned that $700,000 into 4 individual high yielding investment properties, which are giving these guys around $20,000 each. And what we've done here is they've created a passive income of over $85,000. Now, depending on what property they buy, they might have some depreciation to offset the tax. But all I know is we've changed these guys, not just with $86,000 income, their mortgage was costing them around $15,000 a year. So they've got no mortgage. We've basically increased their cash flow on a yearly basis of 100 grand. When you take into consideration they're not paying their home loan and they have this passive income coming in. Now, from my perspective, what we've done is we've turned their lives around. They've not moved too far away. 50Ks, I know in Sydney takes you a fair bit of time to get through that. But if it doesn't matter where you live, why wouldn't you do it? That's really it. And a lot of people in Sydney don't realise this, or it might not be Sydney itself. You might live on an acreage. You might live just in a particular suburb that's expensive. And this is about, how do I explain it? For me, guys, this is about, if you want to make a life change and have more life, you might have to sacrifice where you live. Now, I'm not saying move to the dodgy, low-income suburb, but it might not be your ideal suburb, because too many people are worried about what people think of them. Who gives a shit what people think of you? If you're going to have a better lifestyle and have passive income coming in for the rest of your life, and you've got to take into consideration that'll flow through into your children's lives as well, and possibly their children's lives. So you've got to understand that decisions you make as a parent today can have a massive compound effect for your grandkids and their kids. So that's how I view my portfolio. Everything I'm doing, sure, I am looking after myself first, but the compound effect is going to be quite great as it goes down the family tree. A lot of people don't realize that. And if anything, you're teaching your kids that there is a risk involved with property, but you can also make a difference as well. Sorry, guys, I just get frustrated when people won't move when it's some fancy suburb they want to live, but they're sick of working. I just don't get it. I just can't live that lifestyle. All right, so that's how we come together there. So what I'm going to do now is, so that's with an owner-occupied scenario, no capital gains tax, no nothing, perfect scenario, right? So this is the investor scenario. So in this scenario, this client purchased 2 properties about 7 to 10 years ago, right? And they paid around $400,000 for them. Now, in today's market, I've just gone with obviously similar numbers. The total value of the property is 700,000. They owe 400. So equity, if they sell the property, the equity or the money left over is around 300. So when you have that across 2 properties, now guys, a lot of Australians will only buy 1 property in their life, 1 investment property. I don't understand why. I think it's fear would be their biggest scenario, or in Australia, it could be laziness. But what we have here, 2 properties. Now, my biggest question here with these guys was, why didn't you buy more? And they just said life got busy. They had kids, blah, blah, blah. And that is exactly what happens as well. So with these guys, the case study with these guys was, sorry, not case study, the strategy with these guys was to sell these 2 properties off. These guys already own their home, so they had no problems there. Sell these 2 properties off. Similar scenario. Now, I'm not going to go about calculating capital gains tax, guys, because it is different for every single person, but this is all about round numbers. So if you take into consideration capital gains tax, you may have to wait for there to be more value. A lot of people come in and say, Wayne, should I sell my property? Should I, or should I not? I'm the first person to say, why are you selling? Is it going to make a difference to yourself financially, or is it just going to take a small chunk out of your home loan? You really got to make sure you sell for a good reason. So this one here, total values between both properties, 700 grand. The current loan's around 800. And of course, if the equity, if it's sold, not including capital gains tax and all the other fees, etc., around 600 grand. Now, of course, that gives you surplus monies, sorry, just repeating myself there, of $600,000. Now, that's not that much money really in today's dollar value. I remember growing up as a kid where lotto, I think, was $1 million, and everyone was like, that's huge money. Well, now, if you want $1 million, it's not enough. It's not enough to retire off unless you're going to live a very simple lifestyle. So with that surplus money, it's going to do the same thing again. This is the dual income or dual dual income or cash flow style property I'm going to use. And it's going to give us around 20 grand worth of passive income. And it's a very similar scenario to my owner occupied scenario. The only difference is the 600K just gets us there. We don't have any surplus funds over and above that $600,000. So same scenario, that works out to be exactly the same. These guys are going to have 86 grand of passive income coming in from these 4 properties. Now, the benefit with these guys, they are not at retirement age. So with this income, you can either A, put that towards your lifestyle, B, put it towards more property. So this is what I propose for these guys, is to get these 4 dual income properties in place and really take your property portfolio to the next level with calculated risk. So when I talk about next level, there's different risk levels associated, but with these guys, there's always got to be a calculated risk. All right, guys. All right, that's about it. Sorry on that one. So what I was showing you there tonight is that people have this equity. Now, if it's just sitting there, not doing anything for you, and in some cases, it's just not getting growth either. With this current market, this is not a bad time to sell your property if it's the right decision. Now, just keep in mind, I'm not an accountant, okay? But if I was going to sell a property in this current market, I'd potentially look at over the next few months, putting it on the market. Just keep in mind capital gains tax. You do have to have a strategy with your selling as well to make sure you don't pay too much capital gains tax, because capital gains tax in New South Wales is from exchange of contracts. So exchange of contracts is when your purchaser buys your property, not when they take ownership. Just be aware of that. In most states, that is true as well. I'm just not 100% sure in other states, sorry guys, because I'm not an accountant, but get some advice on that. Simple. Get some advice and find out whether or not that is best for you, depending on what your income is. This financial year, you may have to wait till next financial year, which isn't that far away when you think about it. It's only a couple of months. We'll be there. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching tonight. Now, do we have any questions on that? Everyone shoots me questions, which is good. I've got no problem with questions after, believe it or not. They don't send them to me during. So I think people watch this more after than what they do live. Obviously, everyone's busy with their kids. I'm not. My youngest child, she's 17, so she's too busy with her own thing. Oh yeah, sorry. And Jess has just popped that in there as well. Jess has put in there the 15-minute link. That is for a quick 15-minute chat directly with myself. Just got to go click that link, take you to a calendar, you pick a time and I'll give you a call at that time for 15 minutes to ask if you have any, I suppose, personal questions, private questions, or just outright not sure what to do. And I might be able to give you direction to a certain accountant, broker, bank, whatever, just with what you possibly might be able to work out to see what's best for yourselves. Now, guys, thanks for watching tonight. I really enjoy doing my lives every Tuesday. I hope you guys are learning. I get decent feedback from everybody saying they're learning everything. Everyone loved the depreciation one there a couple of weeks ago. But any subjects you want to learn about, please pop me a message or whack it in the group and I will talk about it for you guys. So next week, sorry guys, I can't remember quite off the top of my head what next week is. I don't have my diary near me, but I will post that tomorrow with what we're talking about next week, guys. But apart from that, have a great night. Enjoy this cold weather, cuddle up to a loved one. Yeah, enjoy yourself, guys. Have a good one and speak soon.